Hello and welcome to the Ireland on the Fly podcast about the people and places of fly fishing in Ireland. He's the scientific angler on YouTube whose videos of carb, arrow and sheeling show brown trout fishing in Ireland at its best. But what's also great about Ronan McWilliams' fly fishing videos is his honesty. He's not afraid to say when he's blanked and when he's found it tough. Authenticity, as he says, is what it's all about. Ronan also tells us about the mystique of the blue stacks in Donegal and why he loves nothing better than getting away from it all fishing on remote hill lochs. At 25, he's very much an old head on young shoulders, but well worth listening to. And before we hear from Ronan, Tom, the fishing, just call me Jonah.
Yes, I immediately got a text straight away with the weather forecast on Thursday evening, describing you as Jonah. So all I'll say is the next time you're due to come up, I'm going to shoot an albatross for good luck.
So, just if anybody was listening, last week we mentioned how much I was looking forward to first trip out to Carrob. Duck fly was kicking off. The trout were going to be jumping into the boat. The fishing was going to be that good.
Slaughter.
And then 24 hours later, we checked the weather forecast and fucking storm, excuse my language, Storm Jonah is coming in or something like it. Holy crap. So yes, my fishing was cancelled once again. I'd say you're never going to book me again.
I think it's our third, if not fourth cancellation.
I think fourth.
I think it is fourth, yeah.
In the last 12 months.
Yeah, it is fourth. Yeah, you're unfortunate. Pity. That's the way it goes. How's it been? It's still very patchy. Nice windows if you can get them. Had some good fish.
Tell me this, Tom, actually, because the Friday was crap. What was the Saturday like?
Saturday was fairly crap too. Fishing.
Was it?
Yeah, there was competition up the road, and it was fairly crap. It was tough to fish buzzers in it. It was a 2-day event, and fair play to guests we've had on the show. Darren and Jean won it. Myself and Jean fished very well over the 2 days. Fished very well on the really stormy day. It's a tough day to fish buzzers on a day like that. And good luck to them. Really good. Well done. Well done, has to be said. So, yeah, Saturday was crap. This week, it's gotten back down. And you know what? I think it's going to happen. It's settling into bloody northeasterlies. Have you seen that? Still a bit happening. Still a bit happening on the duck fly. Duck fly's been patchy. If you had some good catches. And yet, I went out and I struggled. Competition myself. Right? Blanked on the Saturday. Left a fly and a fish on the Saturday morning, which is always pilot error. Always pilot error. And I pulled my hair out wide and picked up a nice fish at about 5 o'clock. That was how it went. Was in places that I knew that there was fish in. However, I really have to add, there is no I in team, and my partner was man we've had on the show quite a few times. He did the masterclass on buzzer fishing, Mike Keaty, and Mike flew the flag for the team. Mike had 5 fish over the couple of days, and so we came third. But as I said, there's no I in team.
Good man, Mike, and obviously the masterclass paid off. He listens to himself.
Yeah, obviously.
Tell me this, it's April. You were expecting it to be gone or to be finished by now, but it's still
holding on. So it's really hard to know how it's going to go on now. There was still duck fly action today, right? Good, and fish taking buzzers. And I would have thought, because it's been up since the 16th, 17th of March.
So what do you put that down to?
I don't know. I'm pulling my hair out now with it at the moment. And there's big falls in the evening, but and I really like it. I've said to you before about, getting a chance of dry fly fishing. Just it really hasn't turned on. There's fish moving, but God, they're difficult. Picking up the odd one, but it's tough. But I don't know what's going to happen now. It's really bright, so we won't see olives until it gets dark. So yeah, look, I don't look. We'll see how it goes. It's so weather dependent. That's how. Yeah. That's how. So come here. Did you get out then? You said you were going to try and get out then at the weekend.
Yeah, so when you've booked time and you're looking forward to getting out, and then so look, I went down Blackwater down the road from here. Said, look, she'll go out for a couple of hours, more in hope than expectation. Spring fishing, like looking for the Loch Ness monster kind of at this stage. So didn't see sight nor sound of a fish. Lovely to be out. It was a bit gusty at times, wasn't too bad. Sun was out. Just nice to be in the water, casting, watching the fly swing, yeah, just wasn't expecting much. Nothing much happened. But like I said, there wasn't sight nor sound. But then we heard reports of £20 and £25 caught upstream at the weekend. Like incredible
Yeah,
fish. Like I've
saying
seen the
actually, yeah,
pictures on Instagram.
yeah.
And that was on the Blackwater. My God, incredible! Like so to see fish that size, springers being caught makes
That is
you,
phenomenal.
yeah.
Yeah, you sent me on pictures. I mean, God, unreal. And like, not really known for that size of fish, really.
No,
Not in the
no,
last
and
couple of years, anyway.
no, that's
Yeah,
exactly like so.
yeah.
Specimens, like absolute 20, 25 pounders, like so.
That is, yeah.
So look, just hope it augurs well. That maybe there'll be a turnaround again, and we'll start to see some good numbers of fish coming through. So hopefully,
Yeah,
it's a
that'd be
good sign
great.
for the season. Hopefully.
Yeah, that'd
And
be great, wouldn't it?
yeah, and next time I try to ring a gilly or book a fly fishing session, they'll just not answer.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't use the name Dara Winham. Okay.
No.
I'll go on. Yeah. Johnny Lucky or something now. Yeah.
So God knows. I'll have to. I think I'm trying to think. Yeah, like, are you kind of? Will you be planning for Mayfly next? Like, does it?
I'm
How
booked
does it?
all, I'm booked all the rest of the year, Dara. Sorry.
Hello. Is that? No, I can't hear you. Signal's bad. Hello. Oh, stop. But yeah, me and the spring salmon. The no, but when the duck fly kind of fades out,
Mhm.
does the fishing kind of? How does the fishing go on carp until the Mayfly? Does it get busy in terms of kind of the? I suppose that's what I'm trying to get. Does it kind
No,
of peak?
no, with the amount of people, no. All of us aren't everybody cup of tea. Some people do like will travel for them. You wouldn't get you can get huge amounts coming for it, but you could you would get a dedicated few guys who like them because it's lovely fishing. Slightly bigger average size of fish.
Are people kind of saving themselves for Mayfly?
It's not as prolific as mayfly,
Yeah.
and the hatch isn't all over the lake. It's only in certain areas.
Yes. So look, you'd be gearing yourself up for
Mm.
Mayfly time then next. Won't be long. It's only a few weeks, though.
That's all. That's all. It was early last year, and I thought it was going to be later this year. But seeing as the duck fly has been early, yeah, I'm just all over the place. Lake is going very low. Actually, I don't know how the other lakes are in the
Yeah,
country at the moment, but we're not having any rain. Like we're well down at summer level now.
yeah,
And I was just looking at the long range there. There's nothing for the next week.
yeah. No, it is the same. Even I was down by the shore and it looked very low. And actually we'll hear from Ronan McWilliams now, but also Ronan tells us about a 4 week trip he's got planned. A week on Carb, 2 weeks on Arrow, and a week on Sheelan and Mayfly time.
Yeah.
Talk
You know what? You want to
about
know the little break to go home.
and one day to
Yeah, the one day.
resupply. I
Yeah,
think
just go
refuel
home.
and resupply.
That's correct.
So what I'd love to do is actually we catch up with Ronan maybe in a few weeks to find out
Yeah, I
how
think we
the
should.
Mayfly trip went. Like, I think it'd be a great one. So look, let's hear from Ronan McWilliams now, and he first tells us about why he started his YouTube channel, The Scientific Angler.
The YouTube channel itself is an interesting one. So, ideally I started it to make memories. So, as you know, if you've watched the videos, me and my father, that's who I spend most of my time with, especially out on the lakes. And he's not going to be there forever. So I wanted to record that and have that on record for myself. And then I realized after uploading these videos, particularly the core videos, that people want to watch them and they're commenting away saying I get people that are in their 60s, 70s who aren't as mobile as they used to be. Maybe they're living in England or America, and they say, it's great to watch the videos to get back out on the lake, even if I can't be there physically.
Mm.
And I suppose that's kind of where it started. But, if I look at it a wee bit deeper, I have a history of, movie making essentially. So I did a course in college, which was originally my first course I did in college was movie making, so film studies basically. So we would make cinematic pieces like that, and I think I kind of missed that at one point or another, and I was watching YouTubers like Sen and Stanley. I'm not sure if you know who he is. And I would get closer off with Sen, and now we would text away at each other and stuff, which is a bit surreal. But yeah, I suppose originally it was just memories. People like the videos, and that's it.
What age are you, Ronan? To my question.
25,
25.
5 years out of
Oh.
So tell me this. Like your generation, you're very much, you grew up with the smartphones, you grew up with social media,
that.
you've grown up with YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So is it just, but you kind of answered it one way for in the sense of you did film studies. So you're used to cameras, you're used to what kind of shot, how to frame it,
Yeah.
how to transition, all that kind of stuff. But I still get the sense of that your generation, like take Sen and even it seems to be just second nature that wherever you go, you want to record it.
It's a good thing and a bad thing in that way, but I do agree with you. My generation is like that. Now, me myself, I would be a bit old-fashioned compared to most boys my age, hence why I'm still fishing. Most boys my age.
I was just going to say
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
We'll come on to that in a
Me
bit, but
too.
anyway.
but yeah, I suppose the camera thing as well. My dad would have watched people like Dietrich Bonhurst. He's like a Donegal YouTuber.
Mm.
I would have watched that and stuff. But yeah, I suppose I always had a camera kind of glued to me for these memories, and we kind of lost touch to mentally remembering memories, and we'd rather have them in video format because it lives forever, I suppose. Our brains can fail us, as I'm sure you know.
Well, they're failing because of smartphones and social media, but
Oh,
that's another.
absolutely, absolutely agree there, 100%.
This
So
this
yeah.
show this show, that's not our show.
That's the Joe Rogan podcast, I think that one. But
Podcasts are okay, audio's okay. It's just all the other crap. But actually, but on that then, every time you go fishing, do you bring the camera?
so this is something I struggled with at the beginning. So when I started recording these videos, it almost felt like every time I went fishing, I had to bring the camera, whether I uploaded the videos or not. More so in the past year and a half, I would say, after about 6 months of doing that, I've been just going out for the pleasure of going out as well, trying to get back into it.
I often get ideas, say for myself and Tom have spoken about it, doing podcast episodes or this, or
Yeah,
say I'm going to go fishing, and I think, oh, geez, that would make a really interesting episode, and then I kind of go, no, I just want to fish. You know what I mean? I don't,
exactly.
but I
Well,
do. Yeah.
we wired ourselves up. We wired ourselves up for a whole day's fishing, right? And I don't know where that recording is, Dara.
Oh, I have it still, Tom. It's in the safe.
Yeah,
It's under lock and
no,
key.
a hundred
But
percent.
I'm with you. Yeah, because I'm with you about that. Because when I used to do articles, one of the things about articles, this is in the old days of print magazines. Do you remember those, Ronan?
Not very much. Trout and salmon's the height of it. Yeah.
But so when I was doing an article, I used to have to bring a camera. Now, just a digital camera, and it used to really annoy me. I never really enjoyed my fishing if I
Mm.
knew I had to take pictures. I used to like to try and get all the pictures done in the first hour, and then I could enjoy my fishing.
We separate them out, Tom. We're that generation where it's
Yeah,
fishing
yeah,
here.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Having a camera is something else. Whereas I suppose what I'm trying to get is Ronan's generation, there's no difference. It's like it's just part of your skin nearly like.
I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
uh, I think I think separating the two is important
Yeah.
because you can become detached from the moment if you're just focusing on camera. Like if I say went out to fish and I says, "Oh, this is going to be a great video," like you said about the one earlier there. If that was my intention, then that's where it's wrong at the beginning. I think people would see through it if they were watching the video. I've set my recording up in a way that it's very, especially in the beginning of my channel, where it's very hands off. So I'll put the camera in the middle of the boat on a tripod. I'll aim it towards myself or my dad or the lake, and then we'll just fish and talk as we normally do. And
Yeah.
I try and keep it as natural as possible. But I think it is important to have those times, especially even if it's me and my dad or if it's just me by myself, where I am decompressing, not trying to play up for the camera. I try
Mm.
to keep it as natural as possible when I'm speaking to the camera, but you can't help but change your personality slightly when you're on camera. That's just how things are.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I worked in TV as well, and I was always drawn back to because like my first job I worked in radio and then I worked in TV, but I was always drawn back to audio because I just think it's more natural or
Seems more
something.
authentic, yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
exactly. Whereas when there's a camera, suddenly everything is not fake, but it's structured to a certain
Yes.
extent, like
Yes, 100%.
It's
But then
that people become aware of it, like what
yes,
Ronan just said there. Like you're aware of it, so you
yes.
Yeah,
actually change. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But even without boring people now into this, but like you're thinking of the structure of the shot and how to frame it. So
Hmm.
again, everything is
Yeah,
falsified to a certain extent, as
Yeah,
it's not natural. Yeah.
you know.
yeah,
But then, although I know GoPros do make it obviously because you're wearing it, so it's therefore it's kind of
yes.
much
Yeah.
experiential. Um, but when you don't, but are you conscious then that you kind of go, right, today I'm going to shoot and fish, and that's going to be one thing, and then another day I'm just going to leave the camera behind and I'm just going to forget
Yeah.
about it and enjoy the fishing, like.
I would say, the trips that we do in May time, I have to have the camera out for them. However, some days you're just not bothered. And those days, whether I'm putting the blight on it or not, seem to be the best days fishing that you have. So you end up missing some of the best trout that you caught the whole week, or some of the best days
Mm.
crack you had all week. But then would that have happened if I have had the camera on? If I was worrying for 2 minutes about the shot, or like 30
Mm.
seconds about the shot where I missed that trout. So I
Are
suppose it's a
you,
bit of
and you
balance.
wouldn't be tempted to get out the smartphone and start recording and just to have
Oh,
something.
I'm too picky, Dara,
Yeah.
about the quality of the
Good
video, you know.
man. Yeah, yeah. And there is a man who obviously studied film.
Yeah. Oh.
And so, how many videos would you try and get done a week, Ron?
So I'm trying to do a bit more now. So just a bit of background on what I was doing. So obviously I did film in pre-college, and then I moved on to university then, and I did health sciences. Or sorry, I moved on to another college, did health sciences, and then I went to university to study zoology, which is a bit of a shift. But I just got my bachelor's degree in science there this year,
Yeah.
in zoology. So that's done. Now I have a wee bit more time in my hands and back, got a QR. So I'm able to go to the hill locks and stuff. So I'm trying to do a video every week when I can, but life's busy, as you know.
Wait
But
till
yeah,
you're 45, Ronan. You think it's
yeah,
busy now?
yeah, I can only wait this week, but we'll see how that
Don't
goes.
worry. There's the slippers stage at 57. You're okay.
But yeah, I'm trying to get as much fishing on as I can, and if the camera's there and I get a video, good. And like you said earlier about the authenticity of me going out and give a realistic day's fishing. 6 months ago to a year ago, I wouldn't have uploaded a video when there was no fish caught. And then I just came to the realization that, this is real. Boys go out and they fish like this, all the
Yeah,
time. They don't catch, and this is a realistic day's fishing. So I did that, and people responded really well. They're like my top performing videos for
Yeah,
the time they've been out. So it just shows you.
yeah. We
exactly.
were
It's
talking about that just beforehand. I think it's a really great one. That one, the first one you put up of the season, it's great because that happens. You
Yeah,
know, that
and
exactly.
happens.
especially early in the season as well.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And that is, it's like you said, it's the authenticity behind it, like which is kind of key to it. I think it's really interesting as well as on YouTube. It's become, like you said, it's people who maybe can't get out fishing. I think it's a bit like kind of the way people used to love reading about fly fishing
yeah.
books or trout and
Yeah.
salmon magazine. It was that
Yeah.
kind of what
Mm.
is it? Vicariously, isn't that the word for it? Like you
Yeah.
can't make it. And YouTube is now the way to do it, isn't it? And it's gotten really popular, isn't it? That thing of I'm out fishing on the boat or I'm catching fish or not catching fish, whatever it is. But it's just people want to feel like they're out with you, like, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And the whole not catching, correct, that's all one thing, but the days where you have your red letter days, and if you get that on camera, like it's just different. I have that forever, and that's me and my father. I'm able to watch that hopefully down the line with my own son. And that so yeah, no, I'd say starting a YouTube channel is one of the best things I've done in the last 5 years for sure.
How much time, just again, I'm just thinking and say people that are listening thinking, oh, that could be something for me. Like, so obviously you're going out, you're shooting, but then editing, all that kind of stuff. How much other time then does it involve?
You know what? It does take quite a while. When you fold, I'm a perfectionist with the videos now. I must say. I hope that comes across on it. Maybe not, but I try to do everything as perfect as possible. So the filming, say I go out for a day, it takes a day. Obviously I work full time as well, Monday to Friday. So I come back in the evenings. I'll sit up for maybe 5 hours editing the video. Then, so you're looking a good 15 hours total for one video. That's just for a day, and
How
then
much
the
footage will you have shot?
hours wise, I'd say, if I went out for a period of 6 hours, I'm going to be shooting at least three hours of footage.
And you're going to cut that down to how long?
Cut it down. My videos are roughly 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. So it's a good bit of editing, like.
Yeah, and this is from somebody who studied it, who knows their way
Yeah.
around video editing, how to shoot it. Have you thought of it beforehand in terms of the shot setup, what you're going to do, all that kind of storyboarded to a certain extent? Like,
So you always think about, how am I going to start this clip, or what am I going to try and lead on to? Is there any topics that are on my mind that I might want to speak about? But yeah, the shots and everything, as long as I set it up and I look at the screen, I think, oh, it looks all right, it's just kind of second nature then I just wrap off and start speaking though.
If you, Ronan, hadn't have, let's say, done the film course,
Yeah.
would it take you longer, or would it just be the quality?
I think the quality would take a hit, I do.
Mm.
Because there are some people, this isn't a blight to anybody, because any content out there regarding fishing on YouTube I'll watch 100%. But people film on their GoPros, then they just use the GoPro app and put the clips together. But the way I wanted to make my videos was almost like a storytelling piece. So if I'm going to a lake, I want to tell you a story about the lake. Like the Corrib video I did in August, I was talking about the history of the lake with drone shots and everything like that. And I wanted it to be like respectful to the lake because it's my favorite place in Ireland, absolutely. And I wanted to be respectful to people that live around there as well. And the reception was quite good. But I'm sure we'll get onto that after. But Cork's like a second home for me as well.
So just, we will get out to the fly fishing on that, but just so people know, you're talking about 15 hours of work gone into a 15-minute video, just so people.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And so if I go away for 2 weeks and I'm filming, say, Loch for the Mayfly hatch, I mean, there is umpteen hours of footage there, like, and then the editing on in that circumstance can take 2, 3 days of me
Wow.
sitting there for a few hours a day, trying to edit it. So
Yeah. And
it's quite time consuming, but
Mm.
it's enjoyable. So that's all I can
yeah.
say.
Did you ever kind of wonder, and this is the other aspect of it I wonder is like, do you ever kind of wonder going, that could be time I could be spent out fishing?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Well, I try and pick my times as when I do it, but so when we go down in May, I edit the video while I'm there, and then I film another one while I'm there, and I am
Right.
eating up the fishing time, and then my dad will be on the phone to me saying, "Hey, there's Mayfly coming off here now."
What
Right?
are you doing? Get
Yeah,
off the computer, like.
exactly. But I
Yeah.
try and spend as much time, the only time I spend on the computer is if I'm editing a video or if I'm working. That's it. So traditional in some sense, but I suppose we're all a victim to our circumstance, some
Yeah.
ways or another.
Right. Let's get on to the fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, that's enough of the Spielberg talk. Obviously, was it you grew up with it? Your dad's a fisherman.
Yeah.
It's in the family. Give us a bit of background too.
Well, I kind of take pride in myself. The McWilliams name has been a fishing name, especially in the north of the country for quite a while. It would have been passed down from generations from my grandfather, the his father on down. So it's been fishing and hunting. That's kind of what I was brought up with. So I suppose that's why my outlook is slightly different. But I've been fishing for as long as I can remember. So like the first vivid memory I have of fishing when I was younger, I must have been like 4 or 5, and we were
Wow.
fishing on a beach using sand eels. And I actually have a photo of this. I caught a sea trout, which was bigger than me at the time. You wouldn't get them anymore, like, but it was longer than me, and I couldn't hold it up. My dad had to tie it to a net so I could get a photo for it. But I suppose it's just been ingrained in me since I was young, and there was times throughout my life where I kind of strayed, especially in my mid teenage years. As everybody loves to go out and drink pints and chase women at that age, like that's just how it was. Um, but going through troubles and difficulties in my life, there's one crutch that's always been there for me, and that was 100% fishing. So I'm glad it's
Wow.
stuck
Wow.
around for me too.
What's the home waters run?
So my home waters, there's not many lakes up here for us to fish, in Derry specifically, but the river I fish now is called the River Faughan. The lakes I grew up fishing was Lough in County Donegal in a place called Mulford. So Lough Fern's got salmon and brown trout and stuff like that. Now it's like every lake has seen the decline of local trout populations due to other reasons, but we'll not get too far into that. I don't want to offend any of the locals down there. And then another one is the new lake in Dunfanaghy, which it's just a pristine, amazing lake. But I can talk about that because I'm on the board for Dunfanaghy anglers, but I would like to get into that slightly. We're having our own issues there as well.
I actually, for those who aren't aware of the New Lake is kind of I've actually driven to it to see it. I've never fished it, but
Yeah,
it's different from a lot of the other lakes in Donegal, in that it's more like an alkaline, rich water. It gets big hatches of olives. The average size of the brown trout is quite good. It's crystal clear water, I believe, isn't it?
absolutely, crystal clear. And the
Yeah,
brown trout are nearly green when they come out of the water. They are like nothing you've ever seen before in Ireland. Like.
it's meant to be
Oh,
beautiful, actually. Yeah, the
oh,
fish.
it is, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's almost got like a that marley bottom that you don't see in a lot
Mm,
of lakes. So
mm.
I think it's just so good for the trout. Every trout you catch is in such good condition, whether it's small or not. But I mean, there's been really big trout pulled out of it, like 7 pound plus. Like, there's theories about how they grew that big because the new lake's only I think 120 years old. So it was basically
Yeah.
formed by the dunes flooding, basically, and then there was a dam put up then like that kept the water on. But there's a theory that these go into the estuary and they feed off, whatever's in the estuary, and then they come back under the lake, nearly like a slob trout, basically.
Yeah.
But that's just a theory, not been proven yet. I've done my own studies down there on the water and stuff like that, and the water is really rich, the nutrients in the water, and
Mm.
there is a high salt content in the water, which is unusual. I suppose it's so close
Is
to
there actually? Yeah.
yeah, high salinity in the water, which is really interesting, and I think that may contribute to the color of the trout.
And so this is all part of the Dunfanaghy, is it fishery? Is that it?
Yeah, Dunfanaghy Anglers, so it's about 35, 40 minutes from me, so it's close enough. But yeah, we're a part of the board down there. I'd be on the committee and stuff.
All right. Well, tell us a bit more about it. Where it is? It's far north of Donegal. Is it very kind of northern tip? Is it?
It's northwest of Donegal, northwest of Donegal. So I'm located in Derry, obviously, which is northwest of the country. And then we travel over then 35, 40 minutes, not too far to Dunfanaghy. We've got a couple of lakes there, the most notable being Sesha, which is a really deep lake, but really interesting biologically as well. And also we've got the new lake, which is just your pristine, the biggest trout on there. But Sesha is interesting in itself. They have char in that lake as well.
Sesha has good trout in it as well, though, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, but more so in recent times, they are seemingly harder to get. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
There was a strange situation with Sasha where, there's quite a few seagulls defecating in the lake, and I think it's having an issue with the water. So if I've heard reports of people taking trout and they've been covered in worms, and different parasites. So I think that's potentially from the matter from the seagulls. But
Never. That's the first now. That's the
yeah, I
first I've
know,
heard.
I know, I know. It's interesting, but that's the local theories.
And char caught still like.
So legally now you can't fish for char in Ireland. They're a protected species. But there is quite a few lakes up here in Donegal that have them. They say that on the record they're not there on in some lakes because I think there's some parameters you have to meet for IFI to classify that they're on the lake, but they are there. If I know people that have caught them. The parameters you need obviously for char is just a deep lake basically.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so.
Have you seen any of them?
I haven't seen it, sure. I never tried to fish for them directly, but I've seen photos, of my friends and stuff catching them. And some of these hull locks where you just wouldn't expect them at all. It's crazy. Like.
So talk to us actually about the hillocks because obviously your latest videos was you going out for a day in the hillocks. Is that something you love to do? You kind of just take off up the mountains. And Tom, this is obviously right up your
Yeah.
street as well.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I just love the freedom of doing that. You're like out in the middle of nowhere, no one can see you. I could be, stripped naked and no one would even know. I could be fishing, whatever.
Don't record
Don't,
that,
don't,
I
Ron.
don't
don't-
record that. I don't think that's YouTube friendly. I think it's a different website. But yeah, so I think this basically stems from my grandfather. People told me stories about my grandfather when he was younger. Basically going up the mountains in Donegal. We had bow and arrow over one shoulder, a rod bag and a rod on the other shoulder with a net and a tent. And he would just live up in the mountains for like a period of 3 weeks to a month. And he'd be hunting and fishing, surviving. So I suppose it's kind of in my DNA, that sort of stuff. Um, I was actually thinking about doing things like that for a video. I think it would be great, if I went up, say, for a week, just
yeah.
eat what you catch. I know a lot of people don't like surviving on trout or killing trout at all, but I think that will make for good content, like. But yeah, the freedom, as you know, Tom, of getting up in them mountain lakes, like there's nothing like it.
You hit the nail on the head. It's something about, you come over a crest to the hill, and the next thing you see the lake, and there's nobody to be seen. And
Exactly.
it's kind of like for that time that you're going to fish it, it's all
Yeah,
yours.
exactly.
And actually, can I ask you, Tom and Ronan, on this? Like, are you looking at the Ordnance Survey maps, pinpointing a lake, going, right, I want to hike up to that? There's fish, or do you sometimes just go blind and go, do you know what? Like you said, you come over the hill and you go, oh, there's a lake. I wonder is there fish in it? Like,
So there is one case where it is kind of like the rolling hills where I can think of in my mind. The Blue Stack mountain range in Donegal. It's like there's a lake. I don't know, per area how many lakes there are, but it seems like every hill that you cross, there's another lake and another lake, and some of
wow.
them have decent trout in them. Like there's a couple of pound or whatever, which is good for a hill log. Sometimes I will go on the Google Maps. I'll zoom on and look, and I'll say, right, is that just a puddle, or is that
Mm.
a lake that I can fish? But there's only one way to find out, and I think that kind of adds to the mystery of the whole situation. If I'm casting in here and I have no prior knowledge, if I pull a trout out of that, how rewarding is that? Like,
There's something, isn't there, so romantic about that idea of just
yeah,
hiking up, spending hours, finding this lake.
yeah,
God knows when the last time a person, cast
Fished
the
it.
fly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for you and Tom, just give people a reminder just what you did.
My thing was I got O'Reilly's book,
Yeah.
Trout Salmon Locks of Ireland, right? And I mean, fair play to Peter O'Reilly. It's a brilliant work. He just, he lists so many lakes in it. And on the chapter in the Galway division, right, the Western Fisheries Board, I have every lake marked off that I fished. And I would mark, I would try. Now, to be honest, yeah, did I do 20%? I maybe. I don't if at most. To be honest, I've been generous to myself. Then just so many lakes. There's
Yeah.
you'll hit the next page and there's 6 lakes in a group, right? And the information even Peter Riley and he had great information, but sometimes it's scant and you're just going, yeah. And then I remember one, the Badgers Lake. Anybody who's read the book will know the Badgers Lake and Kane's Loch, and he just puts Kane's Loch is reputed to hold good fish, right? Okay, and you know what that means.
That's
means,
enough.
I'm off to Kane's. I'm off to Kane's Loch, and that's it. And I fished it. I didn't catch anything off it, but I swear to God, I saw a fish about 2 pound moving it.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
I just short of my cast. Not that but I'll never forget. And I always said I must go back, and I never got back. But very interesting what you said there. Now that you have a car, because it was the exact
Yeah.
same with me when I got my first car. That was it. I was just off. I had no rod tube or anything. I just had the rod in sections at the back. It was a 3-piece rod. I just put it all together in the back seat, the cast still on it, and drive off. Oh, yeah, brilliant.
So,
Sorry.
the freedom, and it's like you said about reading the book and you've never fished it before. It's the mystique behind the whole thing,
Yes.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
And isn't that like you read about, say, Scotland with the hillocks? It seems to be
Mm.
more of a done thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not really kind of promoted as such here. Like, like Tom, you've spoken about, say, Connemara, the West, and Ronan, you're talking about Donegal and the Blue Stack Mountains. Like, we've so much landscape and topography for this, I'm sure, but so few people do it. Like, you never hear of it, like, do you?
Exactly. And as you know, like in Ireland, we have one of the best places to fish in the world, without a doubt. And even specifically in the north, what I notice is a lot of men that fish the rivers, or a lot of people that fish the rivers, they don't even know that we have these lakes in Ireland, or what
Mm.
they're capable of. They don't know what corob's capable of, what shieling or arrow's capable of, let alone the hullocks. So they've been
Yeah.
fishing the rivers their whole life. They don't even know what they have at their disposal.
I used to find, I'll never forget, I went to a place called Loch na Freachán, which was the Crow's Lake. People know it's actually, it is on the Corrib system, but I went up once and I remember I had 3 fish. I was delighted. Uh, 10, 10, one 10-inch and two 11-inch fish. And like, running from a hillock, 11-inch
Yeah,
fish is a great fish. Like
good
an
fish.
11-inch fish is a keeper on Melvin, God's sake,
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so I was delighted, and I came home and I met a neighbor and I said, "Oh, you're in it?" That like, yeah, I had 3 great fish. Oh, what size were they? I told him, and he kind of looked at me, right? 10-inch and two 11 inches, right? All right, okay, yeah, okay. And immediately, like, it went without saying, he said, "Well, I'll never go there."
Yeah, yeah.
but it's definitely not about the size of the fish. I think it's about first of all, how hard they fight, or how
Yeah,
hard you work to get the trout. Tom, if you're hiking up a mountain to get the trout,
yeah,
when you do catch it, even if it's a wee 6 ounce trout, you don't care. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
that's part of the game. Like
Blue Stacks, there you go. I think if anybody's looking for a bit of adventure, a bit of something different,
Mm.
yeah,
have a look for the
100%.
hillocks and
Or the mystical Donegal. I call
Yeah,
it mystical because it's in. I'm looking up here at the book. It's in David Street's book. He calls it. The chapter is called "The Queer Place." It's the
yeah.
mystical Donegal lot that has had fish up to 6, 7 pounds up in the
no
hill.
Oh, I
way.
must be looking for it, surely.
Yeah,
Must go.
everybody goes looking for it, and he
Yeah,
doesn't give any details about it. The only thing he does say in the chapter, he says he arrives up and he finds discarded lunch wrapper, and it really kills him. It really can, and you can kind of understand. It's like what we're saying here on when you arrive to a place and it's pure wilderness, and you could see the disappointment in him that somebody's been there and kind of soiled it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I suppose
Yeah,
it's that need to be the first in a lot of things. You know,
yeah,
yeah,
I think we all have that, not as just men, but people in general. If I'm
yeah.
the first
yeah.
this lake, how hard was it to get there? So I must have been the first person here, so I'd be getting a lot of as well.
For sure. I remember I used to love, say, New Year's Day. I used to always kind of traditionally go hiking up the mountains here, whether it's the Galties or Knockmill Downs or the Comers. And I just go for hours and hours, just to blow the cobwebs off. And I just loved that, And there was one place and there was a lake and I had it on the ordnance and I was climbing and walking for hours. And I get to the place and there's fucking scramblers going around it. And I was like,
Yeah, at one with
In the middle
nature.
of nature. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure they're probably going, oh, here's this weirdo like coming out on his
Yeah.
own, like
I always did this on New Year's Day. It's tradition in my family.
the scramblers. Oh, stop. So come here, tell us, Ronan. You've mentioned Corrib. So tell us about your fishing with Corrib, how you got involved in it and your love for it.
The story really starts before I was even born. So my grandfather, he would have fished the rivers and the mountain lakes, and that was it. He'd never ventured out further in Ireland, as I'm sure the time he grew up, and the time my father grew up in the north was a bit different then. So venturing out was slightly different as well. So once they ended up, they basically booked a trip to Corrib. They stayed down somewhere. They rented a boat. My granddad didn't have a boat there. None of us had a boat. My father, I think, maybe was in his 20s. They fished it once and they just had the best time ever and says, we need to go back. And literally every year since then, so this was well before I was born, they've gone. And ever since I was born, I've been down there, at least once a year, twice a year maybe. Uh, so it's like a different, it's like a different home for me. I feel more at home there than I do up here. Um, Basically, I feel more at home there, especially specifically in Oughterard, because that's where I've been going since I was a child. Uh,
And what time of year do you go?
so we go in May for, the Mayfly, if it does show up in Cork. It can be a bit finicky at times. And then in August, and see, to be completely honest, August, we have the best first in August. I think it's,
Yeah,
you get a bit of everything then, Tom. So you do.
you do. Yeah, the second hatch of mayfly, you've
Yeah,
sedge, you've fry feeders, and you know what as well, Ron? You have a bit more room.
exactly. Yeah, 100%.
You know,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah, and Corrib is roomy enough at the best of times, but yeah, May there's definitely a lot more boats in the water.
there
Um,
are.
the likes of Sheelan and stuff, sometimes you can't get a boat moving there in May, like it's really bad, like
Yeah, yeah,
the traffic in Sheelan. But I Corrib, I just have a love for it, and especially in my Oiler years, I suppose you could say now. I'm only 25, like
yeah.
in my Oiler years now, I've
For those, nobody can see this, right? But just to
yeah,
tell,
yeah, I'm in air quotation
when
marks.
Ronan said that, both myself and Dara sort of just went a knowing smile. Yes, yeah, yeah. Older
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
25. Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, I suppose I've grown to appreciate everything about it. Just the quietness. Like we stay down beside Burrasheen Bay, and it's just a lovely part of the lake. Like it is beautiful. And we used to stay in Portacairn too.
you've actually, and the video show it as well. You've had some cracking fishing on it, Ronan.
Oh, aye, big time, big time. We've had some of the best trout I've ever got. We're on Corrib for sure.
Mm.
And they are, a lot of people say mask and stuff. I think Corrib trout are the pound for pound the hardest fighting trout, 100%.
Mm.
You catch a 2 pound trout and a Corrib, it'll take you into the back and like.
Yeah.
So it will. So yeah, it's that mistake about what are you going to catch, what size of trout are you going to catch. But yeah, I've definitely got some nice ones on there. The biggest I've got was on the buzzer. I got one at 5.5 on there, but my dad's got much bigger on the lake.
You heading back in Mayfly time here?
Heading back in May, so I've just booked it off work the other day, so I got it off. So I'll be away fishing for just over a month full, without any work. So that's great. Can't wait for that. So we're going Corrib first for a
That's,
week.
yeah.
We're going
Go
Corrib
tell us. Go
first.
on. Tell us the itinerary there, please.
The itinerary. So
Make us all
Corrib first.
jealous.
Corrib for a week first, and then Loch for 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks, and then we're back for a day. They resupply and pack up on the food and stuff, and then we're away for another weekend to Sheelan to fish. That's
Okay,
that's
Ronan, I'm going to say it was once a topic on this show where we said an itinerary was like what you've just mentioned of a month's fishing, but
yeah,
it was done by the gentry of old.
Yes, exactly.
It's so,
uh,
I'm just saying, like
yeah. I'm surprised. I'm surprised they even got it off work. To be honest with you, a month, but there we are. But
that
I have,
is that. I'm telling you, can I just say that is the way to do it? It
yeah,
really is because yeah, even at a week, you're taking a chance. You can get,
yeah,
for guys who take 2 or 3 days. And look,
yeah,
Dara, you tried to have a day last week, which fell by the wayside because you're subject to weather. But if you can block book a big bit of time, oh yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And if you think about where we're from the north, obviously, so we are day trippers all year round, basically.
yeah,
So, if we try to day trip the Mayfly hatch, especially on Arrow, like you'll just miss it. You'll miss it. So, booking the 2 weeks on Arrow is essential, but the Mayfly hatch on Arrow, boys, I know Tom, you know about this as well. I'm not sure if you fussed it there,
No,
but
never.
that is exceptional. Like it's an exceptional, like
mm.
especially the past 2 years, unbelievable.
Wow.
Well, I've actually never seen it because I never get to be away from
Yeah.
Carver pasture on the Mayfly.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll try and get a video of it this year probably, but some of the hatches on there are absolutely biblical. Like I've seen really big hatches in Sheelan as well.
Mm.
Enormous hatches, but see the consistency, the quality of trout that you're pulling out of Arrow the past couple of years is just great. Like me and my dad, we went out 2 nights on the spent last year, 2 nights on the spent, and I'd say the average size of trout we caught, and keep in mind we caught quite a few, like it must have been about 3 pound, the average size of trout in Arrow, like, and that's a good trout in Arrow. But some people say that when the bigger trout in the lake start showing themselves, it's a bad sign. But I think Arrow is literally on the way up, and I know in the 80s that it fished quite well. I've seen like a few videos on YouTube and stuff about that documentary on Arrow in the 80s. But
Yeah.
it seems to have rebounded itself now, which is really satisfying, because it didn't fish well for a couple of years early.
Well, we'll have to get the update, Ronan, maybe from you during Mayfly time, or it'll
100%.
be, or you should do a video, Derek, kind of like 30 days of the Mayfly in Ireland,
Yeah,
every day,
yeah,
like Matt Hayes style, you know what I mean?
100%. I think that would be good. But I think the Mayfly hatch is so unique. Not necessarily just Ireland, but the way we fish it in Ireland is definitely unique. Um, So I think for that to be recorded, and I get people from New Zealand, America, and stuff commenting on specifically the Mayfly video, saying this is insane. We've never seen anything like this, you know. So it's good to have that on there. But the two main lakes we fish for Mayfly now are Sheelan and Arrow, but Arrow mainly. Corrib is about hit or miss, and I've never got spent fishing on Corrib specifically because it's so hard to pinpoint. Heard people that have, but
It's not a spent fishery. I say
yeah,
that to people, and I get people who come here from the Midland Lakes and fish in other
yeah,
lakes, expecting, and they have all their spends prepared. And
yeah.
it's not, and the easiest way of explaining it to people is there was no need for school kids to sell mayflies in Lough Arrow or Lough Sheelan. You could pick them in the boat.
A
So
hundred
that
percent, yeah,
meant, yeah, that meant the amount of mayfly that you had was huge.
yeah,
Whereas different in Corrib. So the hatches, while they were good, were never ginormous.
yeah,
You could never. I've counted them on the fingers of one hand the amount of times I could pick mayfly from the boat on Lough Corrib for
yeah,
my box for dapping. Yeah, so
yeah.
look, it just doesn't get it, and that's why they're still hunting for greens during the day.
100%. And look, don't get me wrong, I love fishing Corrib during the Mayfly time. The green fishing can be really good at times, and what they
Yeah.
switch, in Corrib specifically, they switch on to the greens quite quickly.
Mm.
And the likes of Arrow and sometimes Sheelan as well, even though there's greens coming off, they're not switched on them at all. I'm not sure what it takes, but they're a bit picky.
Yeah.
Corrib kind of go on to them immediately.
You mentioned about the mayfly, and people from other countries, and they know about the mayfly.
Yeah,
All I say about the mayfly, it's more than just a fly hatch
yeah,
in
yeah.
Ireland. It really is. It's more than just a fly hatch. There's just everything else that goes with it. The
Mhm.
carnival, the social side of it. It really is. No matter what lake you go to.
Well, this is it. And then even like the likes of Uachtarard, like the children down in Bersheen Bay used to sell the mayflies and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's like a whole family event that gives away something to do and everything, but it does have that kind of, to use the word again, mystique about it. It's like
Mm.
you're looking forward to that all year because that is the best time to fish in Ireland for brown trout. Simple as that.
I love it when you drive around the areas and you see all the cars and the SUVs or whatever parked in the pubs and the restaurants, and they all have the rods up.
Yeah.
And it's
You
just,
love
you just feel like you're with your tribe, kind of, that kind of
it.
feeling, like,
And you walk into the bar and you have a couple of red faces sitting at the bar waiting for you as
Your big
well.
red
yeah.
faces.
Big
And
red
then
face.
you go out to your car on the rod holder and you look up and the three mayflies have been replaced by three blobs. Seen
Oh,
that done? I've
God,
seen that done.
it's criminal. But,
And so, have you any other trips planned, Ronan, as well?
No other trips planned at the minute, Dara.
That's all your holidays used up
That's
anyway.
all my
So,
holidays used up, yeah. And I have a sister's wedding at the end of the year too. So I think most of the trips will just be day trips.
mm,
I'll try and get as many videos up as I can, but I need to, you made me think retrospectively a wee bit about kind of enjoying the fishing a wee bit more as well as recording. So appreciate it, but man, I'm sure my
it's
subscribers won't because I'm not
yeah,
recording anymore.
it's a balancing act, all right.
Yeah.
You just mentioned earlier as well, just kind of your age. When you grew up, was there like obviously it was in your family? Like, what about your friends? Did they all think you're mad, or did some of them try fishing and it just kind of went by the wayside?
So this is one that's kind of close to my heart a wee bit. So young boys my age or younger, obviously you've seen the decline in the amount of people fishing. No, that's just how it is. It's not as appealing, it's not as sexy for anybody to fish anymore, or whatever it is. It's more appealing for people to go out and do other things. I think most people aren't aware of how fun it is. First of all, it's not boring. People think that you're just sitting there fishing for carp maybe or whatever. They don't even know that you're fly fishing. But the friends that I've brought out fishing with me directly, and it's taken a bit of a push to do that. They've all really enjoyed it. They all want to go back out more. So it's like introducing them to it. And I think that YouTube specifically, if you think about how the younger generation absorb content,
Mm.
it's usually in video format now. So if I'm, like you said, a young fella, 25 years of age, out. I don't think fishing's weird. I think it's enjoyable, cool, if you want to say that. If I'm doing that on YouTube, then I think that can only do a positive thing for the younger generation watching. Uh, but the decline is it's quite scary. There was a couple of people I was chatting to on Loch during the World Cup, and they said that they think in the next 30 years that competition will be obsolete, that there's not going to be enough people there to fish it because the older generation will be unfortunately passing on and the younger generation aren't there to take the candle. So I'm not sure what we can do to resolve it, but there needs to be a mass resurgence if it's going to continue.
Very well said. Very well
Yeah.
said. I think what it is I think well, there's a couple of things. One is I think this, and we've said this before, Tom, on the show, is there's so much more choice out there.
Hmm.
Mm.
It's a bit like when you grew up, you played soccer on the street. That was it. Where you played Gaelic football. There was, you didn't have a choice. I
Yeah.
see it here now in my area. There's so many kids now playing rugby. That you would never have traveled half an hour to the nearest town to the nearest rugby club, but now they all do. So
Yeah.
there's so many other choices. I think so. That's I think one. I think the second part of it is I think we're losing that touch with the outdoors, the environment, which we need to tap back into. I don't know how you tap back into, but I think it ties in. We did the episode last week with Mark Boyden from Streamscapes, and big thing what they do is, and what I'm a big believer in is where you get local communities and local schools especially engaged with your local river.
Yeah.
So that suddenly the classroom is brought down to the river, and they're like, "Oh my God, there's a trout! Oh my God, there's a bird! There's
Mm.
nymphs! There's
Yeah.
they see all this, so they get an appreciation of it. And fishing nearly comes along as part of that journey. You're not saying to them, "Here's a rod, start fishing." You just kind of
Yeah.
introduce them to the outdoors environment. So I think that's something we need. I think education wise, I think the schools need to be doing more of. The other thing I think what's needed more of as well is I think clubs. I think clubs are guilty of this big time. They don't do enough for open days, for reaching out to get new members, to be involved in the local community.
Yeah.
Again, a good example just comes to mind: St. Patrick's Day Parade. You'll see the GA club, you'll see maybe the men's shed, you'll see whatever, but you'll never see the local fly fishing club out.
Because they're
Yeah.
fishing.
They're
Yeah.
fishing this week, yeah.
Well, when,
Sad to say, but yeah, no, I agree with you. But I just
Yeah.
think, a lot of guys, yeah, because they're actually fishing. Yeah,
yeah. But
yeah.
that's so it's I think there needs to be doing more outreach.
Mm.
PR comms. I think sometimes it can be a bit like, well, the members are in the club and they want to keep it that way.
Yeah. There's a function in the north called Frogs
Yes.
CIT. You aware
Yes.
of it? Yeah.
Mm.
So they go to schools just like what you're talking about now. They teach children how to fly fish and do other forms of fishing and stuff like that. Stuff like that's really important because if you introduce it at a young age like that, like you said, Dara, that's ingrained in your memory.
Yeah.
Um, but other than just children, I think there's other methods to get people into fishing. Like for example, there's a group in Derry called, Fish. It's f.i.s.h, and that's a mental health group
Oh, yeah.
fishing related. This was started by a fellow called Thomas Campbell, who's from the Craigan area in Derry, and he has stories widely known that he had his own battles throughout his life, and fishing is what brought him back basically from the brink. So he started this group, and we basically have coffee meetups, meetups where you go and fish on a lake together, whether that's a reservoir or anything else. But I think things like that are really good. Like the importance of fishing for mental health, especially from my own experience. Like when I was, say, I'll just talk openly. So when I was, 15, 16, 17, I struggled with mental health issues quite severely. And I think that the only thing that helped me in that time period was me getting back into fishing, and I was getting back in touch with nature itself. And I feel like if I hadn't have done that, I would have went down a completely different path. So that kind of just grabbed me like the saving hand of God, just kind of brought me out of a bad time. And I think, vulnerable people could really benefit from fishing. As modest as it is, you don't have to be sitting on a boat in coral, because I know it terrifies people. But
Yeah.
you could just be sitting on a riverbank, holding the rod, not catching.
But you know what it is as well, Ronan, and it's being out in nature. What do they call it? Forest bathing. Isn't that what they
Yeah,
call it in Scandinavia? I think where it's
Yeah.
literally, whether it's going for a walk down by the riverside, whether it's going into the woods, going up the mountains, whatever. You know what I mean? That's just at the very basic level, isn't it? To just get out and
yeah,
outside, And I think there is just something so transformative about it. And then if you can add in a bit of action with a bit of fishing, all the
Yeah.
better. Like.
But I think it's, yeah, and probably from science by, and it's great that you were able to say it yourself, Ronan, that
Mm,
when you were going through that downturn, should we say, and facing that
yeah.
problem, that something like fishing really helped you. And we can't forget that either.
I think a lot of people in the fishing community specifically, we want to be hard as nails, so we don't want to show any emotion or whatever. And I've fallen victim to that throughout my life as well, in other areas where, you kind of just want to be stone cold and have a laugh and drink a pint and go fish or whatever. But I think the more open and honest we are with each other in terms of, how we're feeling, then the better relationships we're going to build with other people. I'm friends with people all over Ireland now, and, hopefully use two fellas now after this meeting. So, basically, the more people you talk to about your problems, the more friends you're going to have, and the easier your problems are going to be. What is the expression they say? A problem shared is a problem halved.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what? In fairness, Ronan, you have an old head on young shoulders. Fair play to you. But you know what, as well, as it's lovely to hear because it's an antidote to the toxic masculinity bullshit that we have at the
Yeah,
moment in
Yes.
society.
Yes.
yeah,
You know,
100%.
so like fair play to you. It's great to hear. And you know what, being honest as well, it helps other people, I think, as well. When they hear that honesty, because I always have a phrase: personal truths are universal.
Yeah,
Whatever you're
Yeah.
going through is not just you. I guarantee you, everybody else is going, oh yeah, geez, I've been through that myself. Like.
Yeah.
100%.
It's funny when you're facing a problem, sometimes you think you're the only person in the world facing that actual problem. And, it's only sometimes by talking about it. Like even what you saying this evening, Ronan, that, there could be somebody else out there, quite a few guys or girls facing the exact same problem. So yeah, no, you're so right. Get it
Yeah.
out there, share it.
So even what we're talking about now, like where you said, the problem that I'm having, who am I to think that this is only my problem? This has been probably had by thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. Like that, we're not even the first person to talk about that. That's written in a book, Marcus Aurelius Meditations. So that's not even us. So
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Exactly. No, you're dead right. And the other thing is, I hope if anything, maybe if somebody's listening to this as well, it's if you're down in the dumps, going through a shit time, if you're listening to this, you're probably into fly fishing anyway. Do you know what? Get out for an hour or two.
Yeah,
yeah, and
Do
I
you know what?
guarantee you won't feel any worse after you come back.
Exactly. That's it. Exactly it. You won't feel any worse,
Yeah,
and just get out for an hour or two. And do you know what? Bring the weight of the world with you, but I guarantee it'll soon kind of fade away,
yeah,
100%.
and you'll come back refreshed, and
yeah.
then you can feel better to tackle the world's problems.
And think of all the good times. And think
Yeah.
of all the good times. And thinking of all the good times, that'll lead us on because we're going to have to wrap up soon now, Ronan. But so everybody we have on the show, we ask them one question.
Yeah.
And so we're going to ask you, what has been your most memorable fish on the fly?
Right, that's a tricky one now. There's a couple of trout that come to mind, but if I was to say my most memorable trout, I would say on Loch Fern that you heard me talk about earlier, just
Yeah.
outside of Letterkenny in an area called Mulford. I used to fish away and not do much catching. If I caught, I would catch one maybe half a pound, three-quarter of a pound. But my uncle Michael, people call him Sixer, he gave me a fly, which was a clink hammer. I'd never seen it before. I was probably like 10, 11 years of age. Give me a clink hammer. We went up to the weeds. Everything just came down perfect. My dad was motoring up slowly, that's so not to spook the trout. And I flung the clink hammer out, and I just seen the head come over the top of the fly. Set on it, caught the trout, and it was a 2 pound brown trout, and that was my personal best for years, and I never forgot it.
Do you still remember his head coming up
I still remember the head coming up and all, but no pictures, no pictures of that one. Now that was before that's before I even had a phone.
before you had the
Yeah,
Go Tube or the GoPro on your chest?
exactly, yeah, exactly.
And come here, and so did it take you a few years before you kind of broke that mark then?
100%. Yeah, it took me quite a few years to break that mark. And then I broke it down with a 3 pound brown trout, and then a 5 pound brown trout, and then a 7.5 pound brown trout. So we're on the way up, thankfully.
Yeah,
So yeah,
like the Yas and the plastic population, the only way is up.
that's it. That's it.
Where'd you get the 7.5 pounder?
Sheelan, of course. That's the only place you're going to get one I am that easy, isn't it? But
Yeah.
that was last year on video and everything. That's on the YouTube channel. Like.
All right, well, there you go. And speaking of which, so people want to check it out. What's the YouTube channel?
It's the Scientific Angler. If you want to watch it.
Not the fly line.
Not the fly lines. I was thinking I might have to change the name. But yeah, the Scientific Angler.
And there's some brilliant videos. Coral,
Great stuff on
hillocks.
this entire
Yeah, no, it
Check
is
it
well
out,
worth
thank you.
worth checking out. Ronan, we might check in with you later in the year, find out how Arrow went with you. Or actually, I'd love to find out how the road trip went anyway, full stop.
Yeah.
No bother at all. I'll shoot you behind the scenes and give you a wee exclusive, sure. That's no
Yeah.
bother.
Yes, brilliant.
Now you're talking.
That's brilliant. Ronan McWilliams, thanks again for joining us.
No bother. Thanks.
Our thanks to Ronan for joining us on the show. And don't forget to rate, review, and follow the Ireland on the Fly podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Plus, you can keep up to date on IrelandOnTheFly.com as well as Instagram. And myself and Tom will be back with another episode about the people and places of fly fishing in Ireland.